All right, guys, we're moving right along here. Now we're going to just do a quick little color sort activity. I have some crayons that I'm going to give you to use, and you're going to have two colors, yellow and blue. Yellow and blue. So our rational, actually, I'm sorry, I lied. We're going to use orange and blue. Orange for rational and blue for irrational. And I'm going to give you the orange and the blue. Now, I'm just going to go over the directions on this with you, and then I'm going to go over the directions on the next activity with you, because you're going to have these to do. You should be able to get this one finished and given to me pretty quickly, like today. The other one you probably are going to have to do over the course of a couple of days, and we'll set a due date for it. On this one, you're going to go through and show, it says color each box to show whether it's rational or irrational. What I want you to do first is I want you to go through and label each box with an I or an R. I for irrational, R for rational, okay? So I want you to label each box with an I or an R. So we'll do a couple together. I'm going to do just one. So I see this dot, dot, dot right here. And I know that if I have the dot, 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 I have an irrational number. So I'm going to put an I there. I see this line right here. This is a repeating decimal. Repeating. The R for repeating. So R for rational. R for repeating, R for rational. So the first thing you're going to do is go through and label all of these I and R. After you've labeled them I and R, then you're going to go back and shade them orange and green, okay? And when you do that, be sure to put your name on your paper, and you're going to turn that in to me. After you have done that, you're going to do this real numbers learning task. Well, actually, after you've done that, you're going to do this mixed practice, real numbers mixed practice. So you're going to just take this. It says tell whether the following numbers are rational or irrational by placing them on the tree map. So you're going to just take these numbers and sort them down here into rational and irrational. Change the following fraction into decimals, round to the nearest tenth. Well, some of these we don't have to change because we know that 3/4 is 0.75, okay? But I'm going to do one of these with you, and then you will finish them. But to change 7/8, now I'll go ahead and say this too. Sometimes typing fraction. Okay, so we're going to change 7/8 to a decimal. To do that, we've got to divide. That is 7 divided by 8. So this is 7 divided by 8. Okay? So to write that, I'm going to be dividing 8 into 7. And I'm going to put me a couple of decimal places beyond. I'm going to have to erase that because it was in the way. Beyond my decimal, so that I can make sure that I go out far enough. So 7 divided, 8 won't go into 7, so it'll go into 70. 8 will go into 70 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. Subtract that, and I get 6. Bring down my 0, and I have a 60 there. 8 will go into 60 7 times. 8 times 7 is 54. 56. 56. Subtract that, and I get 40 when I bring that down. And then that'll go 5, making that a terminating decimal because I got a zero remainder. It divides out to 0, okay? And you'll see that division. That divides out to 0. So number 2 down at the bottom is a terminating decimal. So you're going now that rounded to the nearest tenth is going to be 0.86 0.86 when you round that to the nearest tenth. No, I'm sorry. To the nearest tenth, it's going to be 0.9. Rounded to the nearest tenth, all right, rounded to the nearest tenth, 0.875, rounded to the nearest tenth. The 8 is in the tenths place. I look beside the 8, I see a 7. That 7 is strong. It makes that 8 a 9. Rounded to the nearest tenth, it is 0.9. Okay? Follow along. 4 divided by 9. The 9 goes on the outside. The 4 goes on the inside. I'm going to give myself some decimal spaces. 9 won't go into 4. It'll go into 40. 4 times 9 is 36. That gives me a 4. I have another 40. This is going to just keep repeating. I'm going to keep getting that 40 every time. So this is a repeating decimal, and it is 0.4 repeating.